This is Euclid Book 7, proposition number 24. And at first you're going to say, this proof really works. And then it won't take long and you're going to see all the flaws. All right. Now, what does the proof actually say? It says, if two numbers be prime to any number, their product also will be prime to the same. Let me show you the illustration. There you go. If you have to, pause the video and then draw this out for yourself. Let's get down to it. For let the two numbers A and B be prime to any number C. Now, A is 10 and B is 4. Obviously, the number 2 can measure both 4 and 10. That's fine. 4 and 10 are not prime to one another. They don't have to be. But both of those numbers have to be prime to C, which is 21. 10 is prime to 21 because there's no number that will measure both 10 and 21. 2 will measure 10, 3 will measure 21, 7 will measure 21, but no number will measure both 10 and 21. Okay? Same thing with 4. 2 will measure 4, 3 will measure 21, 7 will measure 21, but no number will measure both 4 and 21. Okay? And let A, by multiplying B, make D. Well, 10 times 4 is 40, so D is now 40. I say that C and D are prime to one another, so what we're going to say is that 21 is prime to 40. That's okay. For if C and D are not prime to one another, some number will measure C and D. So some number out there will measure both 21 and 40. Let a number measure them and let it be E. We're going to assume that 7 measures both 21 and 40. We do know it measures 21. What about 40? Okay. Therefore, A and E are prime to one another. Well, 7 and 10 are prime to one another. That's true, and that's by Euclid Book 7, proposition number 23. Okay. As many times then as E measures D, so many units let there be an F. So we're going to just assume that F is 5, because 7 times 5 is 35, and that's the closest thing to 40. Therefore, F also measures D according to the units in E, which is by Euclid Book 7, proposition number 16. So we're going to say that 5 measures 40, okay, 7 times. Well, 7 times 5 is 35, not 40, so there's where it starts to go wrong. Therefore, E, by multiplying F, has made D. Well, if you take 7 times 5, that's 35, and that's not 40. So now we're starting to fall apart here. Book 7, definition number 15. But further, A, by multiplying B, has also made D. Okay? So 10 times 4 is 40. That's fine. Therefore, the product of E and F is equal to the product of A and B. Well, 7 times 5 is 35, but 35 is not equal to 40, so that's false. But if the product of the extremes be equal to that of the means, the 4 numbers are proportional. This is by Euclid Book 7, proposition number 19. Therefore, as E is to A, now what is E to A? As 7 is to 10, so is B to F. Now what is B to F? So as 7 is to 10, so is 4 is to 5. Okay? Now let me show you how that one works. So, as E is to A, as 7 is to 10, so is Now, do those two fractions look equal to you? They're not. So, as you can see, this proof is starting to really fall apart at this point. But A and E are prime to one another. Well, 10 and 7 are prime to one another. Numbers which are prime to one another are also the least of those which have the same ratio. This is by Euclid Book 7, Proposition 21. And the least numbers of those which have the same ratio with them measure those which have the same ratio the same number of times, the greater, the less, that is, the antecedent, and the consequent to the consequent, which is by Euclid Book 7, Proposition number 20. Therefore, E measures B. So now we're going to say the 7 measures 4. We all know that don't work. But E also measures C. Well, 7 does measure 21. Therefore, E measures both B and C, which are prime to one another. Well, 4 is prime to 21. And E cannot measure both 4 and 21. And that, of course, is impossible, which is by Euclid Book 7, definition number 20. It's by Euclid Book 7, definition number 12. Therefore, no number will measure the numbers C and D. No number will measure both C and D, which is 21 and 40. No number will measure both of them. Therefore, C and D are prime to one another. 21 is prime to 40. In the story. Talk about a crazy proof. All right, I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.